Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I do hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas and I wish you all a very, very happy new year. So today I'm making a phone stand out of aquacast. I'm using the mould that I got actually from eBay. I think it was £2.49, £2.50, something like that, plus the free postage. So I'm just mixing up this aquacast by eye. You should normally weigh it, really. The instructions are on the packet, but I thought to myself, why it's just a little amount, the mould's really, really thin. I would just play it by eye. I try and get it the consistency of like a custard or a thick cream, and that seems to work for me. So just make sure to give it a good mix, get any lumps out of there, make sure that you get into the corners as well. So I added a little bit more of the powder into the liquid because it was a little bit thin for my liking, so I just added a little bit more in. So you can do that, you can add a little bit more in, you can add a little bit more water if you think it's too thick. It is a really forgiving substance to use. So once that's all mixed and ready, I then poured it into the mould, and it was at this point I realised that the actual unit that I'm working on wasn't flat, it wasn't level. So as I poured the actual aquacast into the mould, I could see it was running towards the top of the mould and it wasn't flat at all. So I do need to address that. Now do remember to give your moulds a little bit of a shimmy and a bit of a shake. I didn't really do enough shimmy and shaking really, but that helps to get rid of all the little bubbles that may come around the edges. You can also go around the edges with a micro brush or something like that, but I didn't have any, unfortunately. So I should have patted it down a lot more, but I was conscious that, as you can see, the liquid is running towards the tops or the right hand side as you're looking at it of the moulds because it wasn't level, so I was a bit scared of moving it too much and it would run out. And then once I was happy with it and thought I'd moved it around enough, I then left it just for around about half an hour to dry. So as you can see here, when I come to demould it, it is all dry, but there is a collection of water in the tops of the moulds. That's because I didn't measure it properly. But it's fine. It just means that I would have to leave it overnight just to make sure that the aquacast is set properly. So once I demoulded it, I did that. I left it. But you'll be surprised how long I left it. Watch this. So just be careful when you're demoulding aquacast or any other eco-pour really. Because it's not fully dry, it can easily snap. It's not like resin, where resin would probably just bend a little bit if it wasn't dried properly, but aquacast can snap. So I did notice some air bubbles, unfortunately, but seeing as it's for me, I don't mind. If it was making it for someone else or to sell or anything like that, then I'd probably either throw it away or try and fix it somehow, but just seeing as it's for me, I didn't mind. And then, as I mentioned previously, I left it to dry. Yes, that's right, it's the 6th of January. Just under a week since I made these out of the aquacast, and I thought I'd better get something done with them. I'm just showing you here my little bargain, a little bin that I got for putting on my desk, for putting all my little bits of rubbish in, because normally they end up all over the place, and then you run round later on trying to pick everything up. They end up stuck on everything. So anyway, moving on. So I bought these temporary tattoos last year from eBay. I'd seen another YouTuber using them and I really, really liked them. So I picked them up off eBay. I think they were £3.50. If you've seen a previous video of mine where I tattooed a mushroom top on a vase, not a vase, like a pot, I'll try and link that video in the description. I've used temporary tattoos on aquacast before, so I thought I'd give it a try. Now, read the instructions, because last time I used the temporary tattoos, I didn't read the instructions, and half of the tattoos stuck to themselves because I didn't peel the top off, the actual clear layer. So I learned my lesson, and this time I did that. So I started off with the large dandelion clock. I call them clocks because you're supposed to blow them and do 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So I started with the large one, and then I just worked out a pattern from there. So I did use wet wipes to soak the back of the tattoo. The temporary tattoo, you peel the clear layer off, and then you damp or moisten the back of the temporary tattoo so that the tattoo actually slides off the piece of paper that it's on. Now, you will see, I did find it a struggle, but I think that was because the wet wipes weren't wet enough. So I do get some water in a bit and wet them, and then I find it a lot easier from there. But yeah, just giving it a good rub, making sure that every part of it sticks down. If you are peeling it back and you find some of it's not sticking, just put the whole thing back down and go over it again, and it should be fine. And remember, guys, that when you're sticking it down, it will be facing the other way. I wanted the furry to go what would have been the right-hand side as I looked at it, but unfortunately it had to go on the left-hand side. But never mind, it still worked, it still looked pretty. And believe me, this furry was not for sticking on this phone stand. She resisted as much as she could, but I got her there eventually. So I added a couple more things to the larger side of the phone stand, some wording and a couple of little seeds, and then it was time to move on to the back part. So the actual stand part, I wanted something on that as well. So I chose a clock, dandelion bud, I don't know what you call them, and decided to add that on as well. So I didn't know if I wanted to add a few more little tattoos onto the phone stand, but I decided not to. I decided that there was enough on there. And then I thought I'll just let it dry for a little while, and then I'll go over it with a varnish. So the varnish that I'm using is just a universal gloss varnish that I got from the range. I think it's mainly for covering paintings and things like that, but I figured it's the same thing. So I used a little sponge brush to put the varnish on. And you'll see here I'm just cutting down a paper cup just so that it's easier to manage the varnish. So I added a little bit of the varnish into the paper cup that I cut down, and then using the sponge brush, it's like a little sponge that's attached to like a wooden stick really. I just use that, all going in all the same direction, just putting plenty of the varnish on there. Now what you can do once you've put this varnish on is you can use a heat gun or something like that to let it dry, make it dry quicker. I didn't have one, I don't have one of those, so I just let it dry naturally. It didn't take that long really, it took a couple of hours to make sure it was dry properly. So once it was done and it was all dry, it was just a matter of slotting the two parts together. So as you can see there, you can see where the little air bubbles caused some dimps in the aquacast, but I don't mind. Just slot it together, you don't need to glue it or anything because you can move it about with you then, take it about with you. And I think it's a great addition. I'm using an old phone here because obviously my phone is what I'm recording with. And I'm one of those who do tend to collect old phones. So, so here it is, the finished piece. What do you think, guys? Oh yeah, I'm just watching a bit of Claire's Crafty Corner while I was doing this. So let me know in the comments what you think. And what would you add to it? What different materials would you use? Would you add any embellishments to it? Let me know in the comments. And please do give me a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so, if I could say subscribed properly. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. And thanks for watching. Bye.